90% of new traders wipe out their accounts, but this rarely happens because they lack intelligence or work ethic. The failure almost always traces back to a single psychological flaw. When a beginner opens a chart, their brain demands one thing above all else: absolute certainty. They want to know, before they ever press the buy button, that the trade is going to work. They crave a guaranteed outcome. And everywhere they look, the trading world feeds this delusion. Social media is flooded with flawless entries and gurus who speak with total confidence, creating the illusion that someone out there has cracked a hidden code, that someone actually knows what the market will do next. This sets the trap. The market is a machine that only outputs probabilities. Demanding a predictable, certain outcome from an environment never designed to provide one puts a trader on the exact path that quietly destroys their capital. Our biology actively works against us here. The human brain is heavily hardwired to search for patterns and establish cause and effect logic. We are built to solve problems this way because recognizing patterns makes us feel safe. When a beginner clicks buy, they stake their ego, their emotional safety, and their perceived intelligence on the outcome. The actual capital at risk is only one part of what they've placed on the line. If the trade wins, they feel smart. If it loses, they feel flawed. But the market doesn't care about their logic or their feelings. It is a living, breathing environment driven by the raw, unpredictable decisions of millions of invisible participants. It is impossible to control, and it owes no one an explanation. The intense stress most traders feel is rarely inflicted by the market itself. It is generated internally, the violent friction of a brain desperately seeking certainty while fighting against a purely probabilistic reality. To survive, a trader must accept the core mechanical truth of the profession. Professionals do not predict the future. They simply execute probabilities. Think of an edge like a weighted coin landing heads 60% of the time. You can still get tails 4 times in a row. It looks completely random, but over 1,000 flips, the 60% edge reveals itself. Focus on the next 1,000. This leads to a highly counterintuitive reality. A person can execute a perfectly planned, disciplined trade and still lose money. Conversely, a terrible, impulsive, emotionally driven trade can turn a profit. Because of this, the financial result of any single trade provides zero meaningful feedback on the actual quality of the trader's decision. The outcome of one single event is just noise. When the brain is forced to operate in this noise, it desperately scrambles to regain control over the chaos. This discomfort manifests as emotional sabotage disguised as logic. Fear whispers that a winning trade is about to reverse, while hope convinces a trader to hold a losing position long after the setup is broken. The first defense against this sabotage is the real acceptance of risk. This means defining the exact monetary loss and making absolute peace with that specific dollar amount before the order is ever submitted. The second defense is building a mechanical shield. This is a framework of written rules. It defines the exact conditions for entry, the precise location for an exit, and the maximum allowable risk. It removes the need to make a decision while a trade is active. By executing within these parameters, capital transforms from something used to gamble into a resource used to run a probability series. When the risk is small and accepted in advance, a losing trade shrinks down to a normal, painless event. Professional structure and discipline do not exist to outsmart the market. They exist entirely to protect the trader's mind from its own worst impulses. Over time, strict adherence to a framework creates a quiet internal shift. The emotional swings fade. The intense need to constantly check the charts disappears. The market stops feeling like an adversarial test of intelligence. Healthy emotional detachment forms naturally. When a trader genuinely begins viewing their actions in batches of thousands of executions, the psychological weight of the very next trade simply evaporates. They abandon the habit of measuring success by daily profit and loss targets. Instead, success is measured strictly by their adherence to the process they established before the market even opened. Under this new metric, the definitions of winning and losing flip. A losing trade that followed the rules is no longer a failure. It is reclassified as a successful execution of the plan. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. True longevity is achieved by decoupling emotional satisfaction from financial outcomes and tying it strictly to disciplinary consistency. You execute the process, accept the result, and move to the next one. What becomes obvious at the end of this journey is that the market itself never changed. The charts never became easier to read, and the inherent uncertainty of price movement never went away. The transformation was entirely internal. The trader evolved from someone constantly fighting probability into someone who respects risk, acts with patience, and trusts the math. Success in this environment is not about learning to predict the future. It is about becoming the person who operates peacefully inside the unknown. Relinquishing the struggle for control delivers the fundamental reward of this process: financial survival combined with a profound